All right, everyone, back at the lake. We're in for 300. Let's get into it. These first three hands, ace 9 7 6 single suited, ace jack 9 5 single suited, and ace queen 10 5 double suited, are all hands that I limped from early or middle position. Ended up calling about $20 more and bricking all the flops. Obviously, the first change I'm making in this session is buying in $300 instead of my usual $600, but I am going to be willing to play up to 4 bullets, so same dollar amount potentially. Next change I'm making is I'm only raising pre-flop if I can either get all the money in pre-flop or if I can get the SPR down to under 1 with 1 caller. Which brings me to this hand where I look down at queen, 3-3 rainbow in the small blind in a straddled pot. There's a middle position raised to 40, 2 callers to me, and at this point I'm ready to either rebuy or just get it in and get above starting stack. So I put it all in the middle, 2 callers to me. The button then makes it 500 and the other 2 players call. So we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes out jack 8-7 with 2 clubs. Middle position player then pushes, button makes the call. The other player folds, and we're going 3 ways to a run out. Turn brings a deuce. The river brings another 7. The middle position player says he got counterfeited, and the late position player turns over ace, queen 10. So it looks like he's going to take it down here with aces and 7s. So about an hour and a half into the session, I look down at king 10 5 single suited in the small blind in a straddled pot. Early position makes it 25. 2 callers to me, I call. Over to the straddler who makes it 100. 1 caller over to the button who then repots it. And although the last time he did this he had aces, here I believe he's just trying to isolate against the straddler. The straddler is a pretty loose player. Plays a lot of hands, really doesn't mind getting all the money in pre-flop with pretty much any random 4. So with all that being taken into consideration, I make the call and the straddler also calls. So we're going 3 ways to a flop. So another change I make here is I allow the other players in the hand to decide if they want to run it twice or not. Previously on the vlog, I've pretty much only ever ran it once, but I figure it's a better way to be good for the game and just allow the other players to kind of have running it twice if they want. So that's what we do here. We're going to 2 runouts. So the first board runs out 10-3-4 with 2 hearts. Turn brings a 4. River brings a 5. Next flop brings out queen 10-7 rainbow. Turn brings a 3 of clubs, bringing in the backdoor flush draw. River brings an 8, and the straddler says he has both boards and turns over queen jack 3-3 rainbow. So he has a boat on the top and a set on the bottom, and he's gonna somehow scoop the entire pot. The button ended up showing ace king jack of diamonds and mucking his 4th card. So my read was correct. I had the best hand before the flop, but that doesn't really win you anything here. So rebuying another 300. Here look down at ace king 9-7 double suited in the small blind. Early position limp. Next player makes it 25. 1 caller to me, I call, the big blind, and the limper call. So we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes jack 7-2 with 2 hearts. I check over to the original raiser who bet 75. Folds to me, and I just decide to go with it and push. Folds over to the original raiser who makes the call. And we agree to run it twice again, so we're going to 2 runouts. Turn on the top brings an 8 of hearts, bringing in the front door flush. River brings a 2. Turn on the bottom brings a 3, and the river brings another 3. My opponent turns over jack 6-3-3, so he flopped top pair with a flush draw, and he's going to make quads on the bottom and take it down, and I'm going to take down the top with a king high flush. Here look down at king jack 2 single suited under the gun. I limp. Next player min raises, then the player after him makes it 40. 3 callers over to me, I call. Then back to the min raiser. He was the same player that had queen jack 3-3 and the jack 6-3-3 earlier. He makes it 205. There are 4 callers over to me. So in this situation, I believe I'm just getting way too good of a price to really do anything besides shove. And in shoving, everyone else is going to be priced in the call. So that's what I do. And as we thought, everyone does call. So we're going 6 ways to a flop. Flop comes ace 10-8 with 2 clubs. Checks over to the cutoff who shoves, over to the button who reshoves, and everyone else folds. So we're going 3 ways to a run out. So I'm thinking of a card, and the dealer puts out the queen of diamonds. River brings in the front door flush with a 6 of clubs. The cutoff says ace 10. Then the button turns over ace queen 10-7. So he's got top 3 pair now. And he's going to win the side pot. But of course I turn over my hand and we're going to win the main pot. So we 6 times our stack here. Here look down at jack 10 8-7 single suited on the button. There's an on the gun open to 20. 1 caller to me and I call. So we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes queen, jack, jack with 2 spades. Action checks to me, I bet 40, and only the original raiser calls, so we're going heads up to a turn. The turn brings a king, my opponent checks to me, and I check back for pot control, so still heads up to a river. The river brings a 7, my opponent checks to me once again, and now I gotta go for some value. I bet 100, and my opponent quickly folds, so we take it down. Here I look down at king, jack, 10-10, single suited in the cutoff in a straddled pot. Folds to me, I call, both the blinds complete, straddler checks, and we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes queen 9-6 with 2 spades, checks to the straddler who bets 40, I call, and both the other players fold, so we're going heads up to a turn. The turn brings in the front door flush with a 6 of spades. My opponent now checks to me. I obviously can't win the hand here without betting, so I bet 60, and unfortunately my opponent calls, so we're going heads up to a river. River brings a 3, my opponent checks to me, and I just decided to give up, but I believe if I had any kind of pair blocker, I probably would have went for it again. My opponent turns over king, jack of spades, and he's going to take it down here. Here I look down at ace, ace, queen 10, single suited under the gun in a straddled pot. I limp. Next player min raises to 20, over to the big blind who then makes it 70. Folds to me, and me and this opponent are pretty deep at this point, so don't really want to bloat the pot and have the other player behind me as well. So I just flat and the other player flats as well. So we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes king 7-5 rainbow. Big blind checks to me. I bet 130. Folds over to the big blind who makes the call. So we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings a 9. My opponent checks again. And here I just decide to check back. If I bet and get check raised, it's going to be a pretty gross spot that I'm not really going to be able to call. So we're going still heads up to a river. River brings a jack. My opponent checks. I settle on 325. And my opponent immediately says, man, I played this hand really bad. And he tanks for probably about 45 seconds before making the call. So I turn over the hand, showing him the bad news, and he mucks, but later tells me that he would have check raised had I bet the turn after he flopped a set. So glad I checked back the turn, and happy to take down a decent pot here. Here look down at ace 8-7-6 single suited in the small blind. There are a couple early position limps. Next player makes it 30. 2 callers to me, I call, and 3 callers behind. So we're going 7 ways to a flop. Flop comes king, queen 10 with 2 diamonds. I check over to a middle position player who bets 210. 1 caller to me, and the player who bet 210 only has a couple hundred behind, so I normally would fold in this spot, but since he only has a couple hundred behind, I might be able to see 2 cards, for no more than, the 210 plus another couple hundred. So I call and everyone else folds. So we're going 3 ways to a turn. Turn brings a 9, I check, middle position does push for his remaining 200. The cutoff doesn't want to really let me see a cheap river card, and he pots it. And unfortunately, I have to fold, and they end up going heads up to a river, which does bring in the front door flush with 4 diamonds. And the middle position player turned over jack 9 of diamonds, and the cutoff had the ace jack. So middle position is going to take it down. Here look down at ace 7-7-6, double suited in middle position. Folds to me, I limp. Next player makes it 25. Big blind calls, and I make the call, so we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes jack 8-4 with 2 clubs. Checks to me, I bet 65. Only the original raiser calls, so we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings a 9 of diamonds, bringing in the backdoor flush draw. I check, and my opponent checks back, so still going heads up to a river. River brings a queen, now putting a 1-liner on the board. I bet 110, and my opponent thinks for a bit, but eventually makes the fold, so we take it down. Here look down at 9-7-6-5 double suited in the hijack and a straddled pot. 1 caller to me, I call, and 1 of the blinds calls, so we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes 7-6-3 with 2 clubs. Checks to me, I bet 35, and only 1 player calls, so we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings another 3. My opponent checks to me, and he was more likely to be on a draw, so this card shouldn't really help him. I bet 60, and he folds, so we take it down. Here look down at 8-8-6-6 single suited in the small blind. There are a couple limps over to the button who makes it 25. I call, and there are 2 other callers, so we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes ace 10-6 rainbow. Instead of checking to the original raiser, which is what I often do, which is what most other people do, I just bet 55, kind of a fielder bet, and only 1 late position player calls, so we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings a 2 of diamonds, now giving me a backdoor flush draw along with my set. I bet 205, and my opponent quickly folds, so we take it down. Here look down at queen jack 9-9 single suited in middle position. I limp. Next player makes it 25. 2 callers to me, and I call, so we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes out jack 8-5 all diamonds. Checks to me, I check over to the original raiser who bets 40. Folds to me, and I call, so we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings an ace of diamonds, now improving me to the second nuts. I check, and my opponent checks back, so still going heads up to a river. River brings a 7. I bet 125 and my opponent snap calls. I turn it over and we're good, so taking it down here. I played for another 30 minutes after the previous hand, didn't really play anything. I played for a little bit over 7 hours in total and decided to rack up. What's up guys, Wayne back here with you. So today I was in for 900, out for 22.25, so profit of 13.25. If you haven't already done so, check out my previous video. I'll link it up here and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.